Boys and girls, we are back here for another episode of the Virtus podcast. I'm here with Tyler Frost, who's out of the interview chair today and into the interviewee chair.
Into the hot seat.
Into the hot seat.
Backing up a tough act to follow with Greg Day, who was really, really articulate and was able to get his point across quite well and clearly and intelligently.
So what you're saying is there's going to be a drop in quality today?
I hope there's not too much of a dip. I remember Greg said, he mentioned that how he was able to portray things so clearly and intelligently because he's had time to reflect and reflect on what his experiences are and his learnings. He's able to articulate them so well, whereas I probably haven't had that space to do that yet.
This is true. So learning experience, opportunity to see how you articulate yourself and then listen to it back and room for improvement. And that's why we're here. So plan for today is I'm going to interview Tyler. We got the new slightly adjusted video set up. So for those watching, if you don't like it, let us know. Tell us, give us some feedback. But we're just going to try a few things. That's what we're here for. This is just an experiment of goodness, of good stuff.
And for those just listening, nothing changes.
Nothing changes at all. We're still here. We're just talking about the video, which we probably shouldn't be doing. So Tyler, plan for today, I just want to get to know you. And I want the Virtus family to get to know you because I've fortunate enough to have gotten to know you over the last couple of years, and it's been glorious. My life is richer for having known you, but I feel as though the rest of the Virtus family needs to know about the boy from Hamilton.
Yeah. Nervous about this one. Like, I wasn't nervous before any other podcast.
When you're having a chat?
But now that you're
it's all about you.
Talking about yourself, like, don't know why I'm so nervous about
Let's get frosty.
Yeah.
First question for you. Let's peel back the layers. What gets Tyler Frost out of bed in the morning?
Right now, just a pursuit to get better and grow and just be, and it's just the most cliche thing you could ever say, but the best version of myself you could be. And I almost hate to say that because it is so cliche and done to death. But like I said on an earlier podcast, if you're not trying to get better and pursuing growth, and every day, there might be days where you're not getting better for whatever reason. But if that general trend isn't going upwards, then
that's what we're here for, right?
Then what are you doing with your life?
Yeah,
if you're getting worse, you're dying.
Yeah. If you're not growing, you're dying, and this is true. And I guess Tyler and I just got back from presenting at a school, and one of the girls who was a little bit obnoxious throughout the presentation was talking a lot. Came up and apologised for talking a lot. And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just not motivated like you two." What is it that drives that inner desire to get better and inner desire to improve and grow that maybe some people haven't found yet or don't necessarily have?
Yeah, it's really
haven't experienced.
It's really funny because people think we're the ultimately so motivated, but we're not. Like, we struggle to get out of bed too. I struggle to find the motivation to train and even sometimes get up at 5:30 a.m. and go to work and do my job, which I do love. And I hate saying that because it makes it sound like I hate my job, which I don't. But we're just like normal human beings that struggle to do that every now and then. And that all ties back to me wanting to become a better version of myself. So every choice you make is going to take you closer to or further away from the person that you want to be.
Love that.
And I'm just ultra aware of that. So I just know doing hard things is going to take me closer to who I want to be. So it's not easy to go to the gym and train. It's not easy to get up at 5:30 a.m. It's not easy to go to bed early. It's much easier to watch Netflix or YouTube for 3-4 hours. But I've just cultivated that awareness of what makes me feel good. And that's through years and years and years of making the wrong decisions and realizing that they make me feel like shit. That's years and years of, especially at uni, going out 3 times a week and realizing how shit that made me feel, and almost doing an audit of the foods I was eating, the content I was consuming, and realizing what made me feel bad, what made me feel good, and then fine-tuning that over the last few years.
It's almost an oversimplification of like how to live your life. Is like, do the things that make you feel good and don't do the things that make you feel shit.
And we don't do that.
The human condition is that we lean into the stuff that doesn't.
Yeah, and sometimes the stuff that makes you feel good in the short term doesn't make you feel good, like doing an ice bath, having a cold shower, training. It's short-term pain, but it's long-term making you feel good.
Hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life.
Yeah, that's something we touched on with the kids.
One of my favourite quotes. So you touched on not being like that your whole life. When can you think back to a time when you kind of like started to maybe reflect and build some awareness around things that weren't serving you and that ultimately allowed you to build this mindset and headspace that you have today?
COVID was a really, really big catalyst for that, because that ultimately took away something. Like I couldn't go out and spend my money and do dumb things and make myself feel like shit. So that was a really big catalyst, and it gave me all this free time to, I guess, audit my life and figure out what made me feel good, what was taking me closer to who I wanted to be, and what was taking me further away from that. So as much as we like to look at COVID as a bad thing, I am really, really grateful for COVID.
Yeah, and I think pretty much everyone can look back now, and like COVID threw up a whole heap of different things for different people, but pretty much everyone, and this is probably true for all struggles and difficult hardships in life, is you look back afterwards and go, yeah, that sucked, but this is what it taught me. Here's what I learned. Here's how my life is better for this. Yeah. And you can almost be grateful that COVID happened.
Yeah, like literally every single bad thing that's happened in my life, which really isn't bad at all. I've had the cruciest life ever, but what at the time seemed like the worst thing ever, I look back on as being awesome. Yeah. And a great blessing to have happened to me. Yeah,
I like not bad things at all, but a couple of pivotal things like, the car I was going to buy, my first car crashed the night before, like the gym we were going to sign a lease on, we called up to say, yep, we're in, and then they were like, sorry, someone else has just leased it. And there's 15 different things that I can pinpoint and go, that sucked at the time, but ultimately was the best thing. So if you're going through hard times, if you got something in your road, just know that, as Ryan Holiday would say, the obstacle is the way.
Literally. For myself, like midway through uni, didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. Was in a PE teaching degree that I sort of half wanted to do, half didn't want to do. Breakups with partners over the past couple of years. Yeah. A couple of years ago, at the time, they seemed like the hardest things ever, but like that's where the growth comes from.
You always get through it. Yeah. All of the hard times are where growth comes from. Do you tell me about, because you didn't grow up around here. Where did you grow up?
I grew up a long way away.
What did Tyler's childhood
4.5 hours away
years look like? 4.5 hours from Verta. This is a long way away.
In Hamilton. That's where I spent 18 years of my life. A lot of people think it's the middle of nowhere. It's not. It's not the middle of nowhere. It's actually a little bit in Hamilton. It's
the middle of nowhere.
10 or so thousand people. Fair few schools. We've got all the takeaway shops. We've got Macca's, we've got a Subway, we've got a KFC, got a Hungry Jack's.
You're out in the sticks, like the edge of the sticks, where like your claim to fame is we have all of the major takeaways.
We got them all. We got a nightclub that COVID ruined. But it's been really refreshing to sort of get away from that and be in a place where I don't know a single person and don't have, I was going to say a single support network to lean on. I do at Virtus, but like.
It didn't start out that way.
Yeah, no, because in Hamilton, as much as I love to pay it out and bag it out, like it was a pretty good place to grow up where everyone just knows each other. Like it's just its own little world, I guess. But yeah, it has been so refreshing because it's good to. I think the best growth happens when you are away from what you know. Yeah. So.
Out of your comfort zone, so to speak.
Yeah.
So if we're rolling on cliches today.
And that's essentially what Hamilton is to me. It's just a nice little comfort zone where I know everyone and it's where I've spent the majority of my life.
What was Tyler like at high school?
Oh, you don't want to know.
Would you have been like the pain in the ass kid that we have in our school programs, just like intelligent, obnoxious, good at sport, just like you can kind of tell they're extroverted and just having fun, but kind of taking the piss a little bit?
It was pretty switched. I went through primary school really, really, really switched on and doing good with my studies. And as soon as I got to high school, and I was still really good with my studies, good, still pretty intelligent, but just didn't try. And I wasn't a very naughty kid, didn't do evil, bad things, but it was just annoying. And probably part of that's just all a part of that struggle to sort of try and fit in and just sort of
find your
be cool. So you just do dumb shit. And so that probably lasted all the way up to year 12 really. Even in year 12 I was just a little arsehole essentially. And I was doing a health and PE course for 2 years at uni, and I just would have hated to have someone like me in the class.
Yeah. What was your transition from pain in the ass kid in year 12 through the uni system. What did you study? Because you obviously shifted a few times. What was it like moving from Hamilton to Ballarat? You know, effectively the big smoke if you're going from 10,000 people to...
That's it. We thought it was... Because I had a few friends that went with me to Ballarat. So essentially I had a whole support network to lean on while I was there. So it wasn't much of a move at all. So my whole life I've had some sort of support network to lean on. Like in Hamilton, I had family, then your close friends. Move to Ballarat Uni, you've got your friends that have come there with you. Then you're in res, and you have all these other people that have, moved from their hometowns to this foreign place. So you've got all these people to lean on. Whereas moving here, everyone's support networks, relationships are already established, and you're almost sort of the odd one out. Like I've never been the new guy. Yeah. And so that's sort of something that's been really, really daunting for me.
What drove you to make that change? Like, obviously there were like the career opportunities and things like that, but like you need to have that internal drive and confidence and belief that things are going to be okay. What was the thing that kind of made you take that leap?
So, a man called Cam Elliott that used to work here
shout out.
A while ago, he did some consulting down in Ballarat.
Yep.
I think it was the time I had a bit of a cooked back, and he blew my mind with how good he was. And I'm a big believer of your sort of you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself the most with. Yep. So I wanted to get better at being a coach, being a human being, and ultimately create the life I wanted for myself. So I needed to surround myself with people that were doing that. And
love that.
I'd followed Virtus on social media for a long, long time, sort of in the background since 2016, 17. And then realised Cam did some coaching at this joint. So he ultimately left. But then I realised if Cam's coaching at this joint, then the other guys that are coaching there, they must be all right too. Reached out, did the internship, and loved it. And once the 12 weeks of that finished, I was satisfied, but also unsatisfied. I really, really wanted more. Yep. So I'd sort of leveled up as much as I could level up in Ballarat. I'd sort of reached my peak, but was still unsatisfied. So for me to, I guess, beat the next boss and go to the next level, I had to move to Mornington where I didn't know anyone, didn't have any support networks to lean on, and surround myself with people that were 5 times better than me. Like there's that saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Like I'm sometimes sitting with you and Greg and Mitch, and I feel like a dumbass, but that's the best way to be.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
Like I've been so uncomfortable and challenged, and also working with Red Hill Footy Club, which we'll touch on later. I've never really had a team sport role like that. So again, I'm working with these blokes that are bigger than me, stronger than me, better at footy than me. And again, right out of the comfort zone, but that's just where the best growth happens. Because if you're not being challenged, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you're ultimately dying.
Oh, love that. So let's go back to uni for a bit. So why did you go to uni? 2, why did you choose the course you did? And then what ultimately impacted your shifting careers to then get to this point where you are now?
Answer to both those questions was because that's just the story I told myself for 10 years of being a kid and growing up.
You were going to go to uni.
Going to go to uni. Brother went to uni.
Exactly.
I'm going to go to uni. Yeah. I just thought that's what you did.
Yeah.
If I had my time again, I actually probably would, and not for the education side of things. I don't think uni is the gold standard of education, which it really, really should be, and which everyone thinks it is. But for the networking side of things, and for the relationship development and the personal development side of things, and just the life experience, ultimately, education-wise, not so much.
Yeah, I think education-wise can differ based off your tutors and the lecturers you have and things like that. And you get fresh, new, and not even necessarily new, but excited, active, lifelong learners as your lecturers. Then uni from an education perspective is brilliant. But if you get the ones that are just doing a PhD and need to tutor, then or the ones that are old and grumpy or a bit of jaded because they've been in the industry a long time. You get those kind of lecturers and you're like, oh, fuck, this is bullshit. I'm not learning anything here. And I think, because that's an interesting one. Like, some people will be like, you don't need to go to uni, which you definitely don't. Other people will be like, you have to go to uni. The way I look at it is, uni taught me a lot of things that I wouldn't have learned if I didn't go to uni. And they're not you're right. They're not necessarily the nuts and bolts of the S&C.
Yeah, it's not necessarily about that. It's
basics of biology and chemistry and things that I probably wouldn't have gone and learned on my own. It gives you that foundational knowledge that then you can build on.
Yeah, and just a lot of life and social things too, like learning how to meet new friends. Because you essentially, well, in my case, growing up in Hamilton, essentially haven't done that since I was in prep and year 7. That was that was the last time I met new people. So you're essentially a whole different person than you were when you're in year 7 and grade prep. So you get to meet all these new people, and that's been the same moving here too. I've got to meet new people because I was probably still a little bit of that little shit when I was in the first year of uni. So again, with a new skill set, almost new personality, new persona, you get to meet different people.
Yeah, I look at uni as like social element was brilliant, and like almost the learning how to learn, like learning, like journal articles exist, and research exists, and this is how it works, and okay, well this is a part of it, but then also the practical element of it. So you're just from a timeline perspective, you went to uni when?
2016. That was straight out of school, and I'd always told myself I was going to have a gap year too. Like whenever the conversation comes, because when you're in year 12, you'll get asked 1,000 times what you're going to do. And 999 times I answered, I'm going to have a gap year. I'm going to earn some money. And then I actually don't know what made me change my mind, but I did.
So I'd planned on going to uni and then was like, I want a year off. And then ended up doing my Cert 3 and 4 and then went, oh shit, I'm going to be studying because I didn't want to study all year because I was playing Stingrays and footy and stuff. And I was like, I want to be a football player. And then I realised that Cert 3 and 4 was more contact hours than uni. But you didn't go straight into an exercise science degree, did you?
No, I did 2 years of health and PE teaching. Again, that just ties back into the story I told myself and told everyone else for the 10 years. I'm just going to be a PE teacher. And that's probably because of the mentors and PE teachers that I had growing up and throughout high school. I really, really liked the way they did things. Yeah. And I just saw myself really flourishing in that role and being a good mentor to kids, which, again, I guess I still am.
Yeah, but you just do that in a different way.
I just hated how I was so confined to a curriculum that I not so much didn't agree with, but I just didn't like being confined to a curriculum and within the school environment. Yeah. So I guess now with our school programs, I can do things my way, teach what I want and what we feel kids actually need, which we did today at Cornish.
Yep. Shout out. Yeah, which was a bit of fun. And then what made you? Because I don't know. I'm a big believer that if you quit your job to move to another job or quit your course to move to another course, that you can't lose because you either go, oh, fuck, that was what I should have been doing, or you go, oh, I'm so glad I'm doing something different now.
That's it, yeah, because at the time I was doing a little bit of PT work in Hamilton. So
so you already started
pretty much
coaching.
Myself and all my other uni friends that I met, we all went back home to our hometowns pretty much 85% of weekends. Yeah. And I'd go back home and work as a PT at a gym, Vitality Health and Fitness in Hamilton. In year 12, I did my Cert 3 as a part of my VCE. Yep. And that's where I sort of got my first taste of the industry. And in my social media, in my Instagram, all I followed was all these different S&C accounts. So Christian Woodford was a really, really big one and was a big influence early. And all these different accounts, like Virtus was one, like any gym, any S&C facility, any coach, I followed him, and that's just where I got my education from. And then realised halfway through my second year that I didn't really care about becoming a better teacher. All I cared about was becoming a better PT, a better coach. Yeah. So that's when I made this. I was going to step away for a whole year in 2018 because a senior PT at the gym I was PTing at in Hamilton stepped away. So I stepped into his gym manager role, which I was severely unequipped
it's a good way to learn, right? It's a good little it's a good little stretch.
Yeah. And then also realised I'm going to be missing out on all these uni nights and all these fun experiences with my uni friends. So I was so torn. Like, I'm so unequipped for this gym manager role. I'm going to miss my friends. I'm going to miss out on all these social experiences. So I ultimately did part-time uni in Ballarat, part-time gym manager in Ballarat, in Hamilton. So I was back and forth between the two once a week,
clocking
every
up some
week
Ks
for like 6 months.
No wonder the Falcon died. You were just pumping Ks into it each week,
murdering it. And it was a little bit of that. What's it called?
Use your words.
When you know a little bit, you think you know a lot, and when you
Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, the Dunning-Kruger. So it was a bit of that. So I'd got a little bit of a taste of some Christian Woodford workshops and some education off highly qualified coaches from my Instagram feed. Yeah. Thought I knew a heap.
The old Instagram degree.
Thought I was big shit, and probably compared to a lot of other smaller PTs around my area, I probably was a bit better, but was nowhere near
Yeah.
Good enough. So I needed to go back to uni and continue to pursue that growth to become a better PT and a better coach.
Yeah. Beautiful. And then you spent your exercise science degree. So how long did you spend at uni total?
5 years.
5 years. Beautiful. Which is
wouldn't. It was a long
solid.
time, but had a blast.
Yeah. Yeah, you got best of both worlds, right? You had the fun you had the fun getting pissed times.
Yep.
With also the realization of like, okay, this doesn't last forever and this isn't conducive to the person you want to be.
Yeah.
What did your work uni balance look like throughout those years in terms of coaching and because you bounced into a few different gyms, a few different roles?
Ultimately just doing the bare minimum of work
at uni
at uni and also work to fund my uni lifestyle of getting pissed and doing whatever else and
loves
not
a beer.
Not doing much study.
Yeah.
And ultimately eventually put the pieces together and realized how shit that made me feel and then as I said throughout
was
COVID,
there a moment
or
was
changes.
It just a gradual
just
change?
A gradual just got worse and worse and worse and I don't want to say mental health stuff because I don't think it was that bad but like just realized how shitty
right?
You're feeling and how shitty your health is.
Yeah.
You're not doing things that are fulfilling you. You're just sort of almost wasting your days.
Yeah.
You make some changes.
So do you think that, and this is a little bit of a sideways question, but do you think the health consciousness you have now and the desire to do all the little things around like what you're eating, what you're putting in your body, drinking water, saunas, ice bars, all that kind of stuff, do you think that's an overcorrection of those 3 or 4 years where you're just like
totally
loaded up?
Totally. Yep. And in that pursuit of health, which we might dive into later, which is what I did last year when we had COVID again, like ultra dived into health for like 3-4 months. And I think the stress of dialing on health so much actually fucked my health even more. And I actually saw...
How's that for a catch-22?
Like, this is so relevant. I saw a funny meme an hour ago today, and there's no picture with it. Like, if you're listening, there's going to be no picture, but the picture's not really relevant anyway. It's just like the caption on the picture. Biohackers making their health 15% worse from the stress of wasting 95% of their time and energy on gimmicks that might make their health 1% better, which is ultimately what I did to myself. Like,
but it's a great learning experience to go through, right?
Yeah.
And like one of my earlier mentors was Mark Buckley from FMA, and one of the things he used to say was, you can't give what you haven't got, and you can't share what you haven't experienced. So you don't have to have done the thing that you're helping the person through. But if you've gone through, that regimented health regime, or you've rehabbed from an injury, or you've experienced a powerlifting meet, or whatever it is, or you've played football on a Saturday and run your guts out, like having experienced that gives you the perspective as a coach to be able to say, hey, here's what my experience was, here's what I think, and then you kind of give your athlete or the client you're coaching the space to then explore it themselves with your experience as well. So you almost they get to make the mistake without having to make the mistake.
Totally, and that's one of my big coaching or programming philosophies. I'll never program something that I haven't done before, because how can I expect to know what my athlete's feeling going through when they're trying to learn and execute the movement when I haven't done it myself?
Yeah. If we just met and elevator pitch me your coaching philosophy, what would it be?
I was actually sort of thinking about this the other day, and sort of have been thinking about it over the past couple of months. Just empowering people to, do what they want with their bodies. So, just giving them back their health, trying to eradicate fear, trying to eradicate any fear or preconceptions that they may have. Like no movement is bad movement. Like, if I could teach people one thing, it'd be don't stop moving. Like, do some sort of movement at all times, because I stopped running for 7 years and it has cooked me trying to start running again.
Back playing footy.
Yeah.
Lower shank issues, which has been
my legs are
favorite
cooked.
Thing to say over the last few weeks.
Like, don't stop doing movement. Like, because it's just going to be so much harder to get back into it.
You're a coach, you're the epitome of health and well-being and the epitome of knowing how to look after yourself. Why are you sore and tired?
Because I was still strength training and doing mobility and doing all this other stuff, but just wasn't running. Yeah. And now I'm cooked. trying to run again.
And I think, like not to steal an answer to your question, but almost like the goal of a gym training, goal of a training program in the gym, outside the gym, whatever, the way I look at it is should be to build capacity to do all the cool shit you want to do.
Yeah.
And, if potentially going back to playing football or, playing golf when you're older or running a marathon or, going hiking with the kids, if that's part of what you want to achieve, then what you do in the gym should drive that and gym should supplement your life, not the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we look at it as I look at training as just a capacity play, it's just, all right, which capacities are great, which capacities are lacking, what do we need to work on, and we work on it and we grow and improve and build a bigger container to be able to do cool shit. That, in a nutshell, is training.
That's it.
What, I guess from an experiential point of view, what are the main experiences in your life that have shaped you as a coach?
It's a really, really great question.
Get around me for asking good questions. Thanks for saying I ask good questions.
One that stunts me, but I'll try not to fill the airspace with too much silence, so I'll just keep talking.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with silence in a podcast. We need to become comfortable with silence.
Yeah. I can't think of any experiences that I can single out, but more the coaches and the mentors that I've had to lean on that are better than me have probably shaped me. And I'm a big believer in learn off as many different people as you can and don't get married to any one sort of system of beliefs or any one coach's teachings, because there's so many different things you can pick off each different one. But in terms of experiences that have shaped me, probably just that whole 5 years at uni and auditing my life and figuring out what makes me feel like shit, what makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Leaning into those things that
As
make me feel good.
Task for everyone listening or watching is just, if things aren't the way you want them to be, write down all the shit you do and audit like what things fill you up, which things take energy away, and do more of the shit that fills you up.
There's a Dalai Lama quote, which I'm going to butcher because I can't remember it word by word, but it's almost like relinquish the things that make you suffer and acquire the things that make you feel good.
Yeah.
That's probably the experience that has shaped me the most, just realizing what makes me feel good and what doesn't.
I've always loved the quote, and again, I don't know who it is, but before you try and heal someone, make sure they want to give up the thing that made them sick.
Yep.
And and I think it's more powerful. I had this conversation with the footy boys the other night. We're about to run through a big block of training and, to get us primed for finals. And the most important thing we can do isn't necessarily to do the hard work. It's to take away the stuff that takes away from it.
Yeah.
So the late night Netflix binges or the shitty food on a weekend or the 7 beers after going football, like that stuff has its time, has its place. But if you want to make the most of the opportunities you're given, you need to take those things away, sacrifice. And life shouldn't just be about sacrifice, right? Like life, you should be able to enjoy the shit you love to do. Like I'm sure you had some fucking ripper nights out in Ballarat. But there comes to a point, is this serving me?
And that's one thing COVID did. It literally took away what was making me sick. And now, like, don't get me wrong, still love a good time. But
I really want to be in now.
Like, just can't do it to the extent that I did. I can't be out till the sun comes up the next day. Like, I gets to 11 p.m. now and I'm having a drink with the boys and I've got to go to bed. I just can't do it.
7 hours, 8 hours. Yeah, I think one of the questions I like to ask myself and one of if I was to nestle the number one piece of advice I've given to the most people this year, it's like, ask yourself, is this useful?
Yeah.
Is this thing that you're doing useful? Is it moving the needle in one way, shape or form? Is it making you feel better? Is it making you perform better? Is it making you recover better? And if the answer is no, then maybe get rid of it or maybe do something else.
Totally.
What's the one piece of advice that you give the most to your athletes and or have received that's changed your life the most?
There's a lot of different advice I'd give to an athlete, just depending on their situation.
Well, context isn't important.
But probably just expose yourself to a variety of different activities, movements through different planes of motion, varying intensities.
Yep.
Like just be good at as many different things as you possibly can. And there's some athletes that's irrelevant to that might specialise in a certain sport that requires...
Don't specialise too early.
...certain characteristics. But yeah, like literally don't specialise too early and expose yourself to as many good things as you can. And that's what I do with my athletes now, because like what myself and Mitch chatted about in our podcast a couple of weeks ago, you don't know where your athlete or client's going to be in 5 years' time. They might have a new coach that God knows what they're going to prescribe them. So the best thing you can do is get them robust enough to be in a position that they can tolerate whatever gets tossed at them
Yeah, and from a like the follow up to that is, as an athlete or as a human, which, I I don't prescribe to the only certain people can become athletes, right? Like I think, and I could argue with different people until we're blue in the face, but everyone's an athlete. We all just have different events, right? Your event might be looking after the kids and running around after them and things like that.
That's you.
Yeah, whack. As soon as you stop doing things, and like as we get older, we stop playing sports, we stop running, we stop swimming, we stop riding our bikes, we stop doing the things that allow us to move. And there's that whole like myth that your metabolism slows down as you age. It doesn't slow down because you age; it slows down because you slow down.
Yep.
And the ability to maintain that like childlike enjoyment out of going for a hike, going for a walk, going for a run, kicking the soccer ball, football around, doesn't matter. As I get older and get towards the end of my current sporting career, I'm kind of like, okay, well, I need to make sure that I don't just stop and then stop and don't replace it with something else. Like, I guess that's why the gym is such a valuable place to so many people, because that's the place where they move and they grow and they explore. But don't stop doing it in the real world, because when you stop, like you said before, when you stop growing, you're dying. When you stop moving, you literally start dying.
You're deteriorating.
Yeah, and we spoke about this in our podcast, right? Like what happens with early death in terms of lower body strength and foot speed. And, it's a little bit morbid, but at the end of the day, we want to build our capacities so that we can do as much shit as we want when we're older.
For as long as possible.
I'd love to be able to, deadlift my body weight when I'm 90. Like I'd love to be able to still get into a jog and still swim and still, still play around and piss fart around and take the piss. And
every now and then in my Instagram feed, I see a video of like a 90-year-old deadlifting 100 kilos, and it's epic.
Yeah, but the thing, like
there's no reason you shouldn't be able to do that.
There isn't, but they got there because the people that can't do it, like at some point along the road,
stopped.
40, 45, 50, 55, whatever, they stopped, and it might have been because of an injury.
And then it gets harder and harder and harder to get back in.
Yeah, like the biggest thing we can do for ourselves in any pursuit is build momentum.
Yep.
And we spoke about it today around like, what's the one thing you can do today to make tomorrow a little bit better? Whether it be work, whether it be community, whether it be health, doing something today will make tomorrow easier and build your capacity, and you just do that every day, and eventually you're going to die, but ideally you've had a fucking ripper run along the way and you've been able to do stuff, and you're not stuck sitting down incapacitated because you stopped moving and stopped exploring good things. Like
totally.
The same thing can be said for reading and for connecting with other people and building relationships and things like that. So now that you're well and truly entrenched in the Virtus system, we'll talk about the learning experiences you've had along the way in terms of like internships and courses and things like that. What does the future growth for Tyler look like?
Love to delve into some business stuff. So like one area of my life that's still quite poor is the sort of financial literacy, business literacy side of things. Still living fortnight to fortnight.
Read the books I gave you yet?
At 24 years old, I didn't think I'd be doing, but here we are. No, haven't read the books I've been given yet.
We'll get there.
And that's just all a part of priorities and making time for those things. Yeah. Business development, because ultimately I want to be free to do whatever I want, whenever I want, not having to worry about money. And this might sound a bit excessive, but if I wanted to, I'd want to be able to fly to Italy tomorrow. I'd want to be able to fly to the UK tomorrow and see my mates without a worry of having to do a coaching shift, without a worry of, am I going to have the money to do this?
Yeah.
Like, hypothetically, I'd want to be able to do that. But how do you do that? Because you can't do that. You can't do that. You need money to do that. So you need to do something that fulfills you to help you, I guess, gain that. Being here is a big key part of that.
And we'll build into that, like from a because effectively that's an A goal, right? Like for those that haven't listened to Greg and I talk about ABC goals, like a C goal is the what do you want that you already have, right? It's like it's a gratitude play around like, all right, well, if you keep doing the things that you're doing, you're going to keep having the things that you have. To get something you don't have, you need to do something different. So like that's a B goal. Like what are the things that you want that you don't currently have, and what are the steps to get there? So it's like something like buying a house or buying a car or going to see your mates in London. Like they're things that are you can clearly articulate step 1 to 10, and tick it off, right? The A goal, which is like the big, hairy, crazy goal, is like, what do you want that both scares and excites you at the same time? And what are the first 2 steps to get there? And, like, I think we can be very impatient with achieving those things. Like, I reckon 24, I was probably in smack bang exactly the same position as you in terms of like going, I just want some like more freedom around what I can spend my money on and what I can do and where I'm going and all those kind of things. And ultimately, like, you're on the right path. You're going to get there. But the C goal is like, okay, what are the first 2 steps to get there? So move into a space where, or a community that you love being around, that love having you around. Like, you've ticked that box.
Yeah.
Like, find a house that, and a space to live that, supports your goals, which you've kind of just done, right?
Yeah,
you just moved house.
Yeah,
literally
so
a week
moving
ago.
into a space with just myself and one other girl that's there 20% of the time. So
which gives you then the capacity to then go,
the
all right,
freedom
sleep.
and the quiet time that I need to sort of get my 8 hours sleep, quieten my mind, not feel like I have to sort of talk to anyone.
Yeah. And then the next step is like, okay, build the business capacity alongside what you're already doing from a coaching and education perspective.
So, someone that's doing those things is able to post to their social media 1 time a day and build an audience.
Yeah.
They're able to commit 2 to 3 hours a day to branching out to schools, clubs, corporate.
Yeah. And I think that's the key for anyone achieving what they want to achieve. And, you do this brilliantly with your clients, is just like, all right, you set out a path, you follow that path, and you be patient with it, and make sure that you have opportunities to reassess and assess and iterate what it actually looks like, and then reiterate when things, when you don't feel like you're making the progress or you're not connecting with the right people or things like that.
Yeah. If there's something you want, look at someone that's already achieving that, and don't ask what are they doing now, but ask what they were doing when they're in your position. Because you look at The Rock, who's jacked
Shout out to The Rock.
and eating 10,000 calories a day. I don't know how many. To get like The Rock, you're not going to eat 10,000 calories a day straight off the bat and train twice a day. You're going to do what The Rock was doing when he was your size and shape.
This is true. I don't know if The Rock was ever my size and shape. I'm too much of a pretzel to be like The Rock. But yeah, like who are the people that you've looked up to over the years and learnt off, and who do you look up to now? Because I guess that, like, who you aspired to be, like, doesn't necessarily have to be like a hero, but we see elements of what certain people do and we go, I love this person's ability to communicate. I love this person's, ability to create content or whatever. Who are those people for you?
That's it. Like, your parents put the steps in place when you're 0 to 18, and then you go and branch off, and then people that are in positions that I want to be right now, it's people like yourself, Greg, Mitch, that have been doing what I want to be doing for a fair few years, and they're doing it really, really well. So that's why I've come here and surrounded myself with you guys.
Thanks for the pump up.
People like my coach, Alex Sandalis.
Need to get him on here at some stage.
I've invested, when I was in uni, in going up to the Sunshine Coast to learn off a man, Jordan Potts, who at the time, still is, one of the leaders in junior athlete development. Because at that time, that was an area that I really wanted to dive in, and still am quite keen on that junior development.
Building a good, solid group of young athletes under your charges here.
Oh, yeah. Early days, Christian Woodford was one, and as much as I've sort of drifted off now and don't, my coaching style has changed a bit. It was one that early days sort of set a lot of the foundations for me.
Done massive things for young coaches over the last 10 years.
Yeah. And they're just a few off the top of my head. Like, I could rattle off so many more, but I'm actually sort of drawing blanks at the moment because there is so many. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good way of like looking at your development, right? Is like you've got kind of the different areas of your life that you want to improve. Like there's the resilient side where you kind of look at like your ice baths and your Wim Hofs and people doing that stuff, and then you've got your coaching side of things, and you've got your education side of things, and your financial side of things. And obviously, they're all intrinsically linked. But do you have like a system or a process that you follow to kind of go, okay, well, what do I need to work on now?
The funny thing is, I don't. Like, that's probably one thing I'm probably lacking, is just really, really clear-cut systems and processes for everything in my life. And I'll come to a sticky point in my life, which I was at a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of shit was going on with the house, and work was busy, and I wasn't getting anything done. It's like, shit, I just need some better systems in place for everything. And I'm like, shit, I need to create the time to figure this shit out, and I just don't do that.
Yeah.
So it's all about just sort of sacrificing one thing to make time for that, to make things easier in the future, sort of that short-term pain for long-term gain, which...
Yeah. I mean, we hear about it with like businesses, right? People talk about, you talk to most people that run their business and they'll talk about running in the business or working in the business, and working on the business.
Yep.
And like our life is effectively a business or a project or whatever. And we can look at our life as like working in our life, which is kind of what we want to do, right? Where things are a means within themselves and we enjoy, being where our feet are and enjoying what our day looks like, and we're doing the things we love because we love to do them, not because they're going to create a better future. But we're also need to take time to like take a step back, build some awareness, create some clarity around what's working and what's not, and then create systems and processes in our life that actually work on those things so that we can improve them. And then, like, in a nutshell, that's life, right? It's bouncing between the working in and working on and making sure that, yes, we love what life is and what we're doing, but we're also, like, dissatisfied enough to then go, I need to make this better for future me.
And it draws parallels with sort of the training and health and wellness experience for a lot of people too. Yeah. Like, everyone's so dialed in on working out and going to the gym and hitting their session, but they don't work in.
Yeah.
They don't strip back the layers and look at the other parts of their life, like their hydration, their stress management, their sleep, mobility.
Good hydration plug, by the way.
Yeah, play it.
It's clean. It's cold. Now that's what I call high-quality H2O.
It's a really important part of the podcast, I think, just the old hydration check-in that we do most episodes.
Once a day. If you've got a drink bottle with you, have a sip.
Get around the new Vertus drink bottles, by the way. Stay hydrated, maniac. 750ml, double-walled. Get excited. Beautiful. All right, so changing tact a bit, just changing
What's
path.
tact mean?
I don't fucking know, mate. I just say shit, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So what does your professional life look like at the moment? So actually, I don't need to answer it because you're going to tell me.
Yeah.
What does your week look like?
About 20 to 25 hours of coaching per week. So I'm in here at Vertus either 6 to 11 or 3 to 8.
Which we love.
And it's a awesome way to get paid. Like it blows my mind that I actually get paid to do it. And it blows.
I can stop if you want.
Nah, I don't. I literally just get to rock up and for 5 hours, just
hang out with good people.
Hang out with whoever comes in.
Yeah.
You check Wodify, see who's in for the night. And it's like, sick, get to hang out with them. Yep. Get to hang out with Schmitty. You're like,
oh yeah, another shout out.
That's 5 straight.
One day we'll forget him.
Get to shoot hoops with Michael Bazine. and
does not want to lift a weight, just wants to throw basketballs at the ring.
I'm responsible for the development of young guns like Nikki Beattie and Matilda Argus, Ellie Simons, who's leaving us.
Good humans. She'll be back.
Yeah, she'll be back. So really, really lucky to be able to come here and
it is pretty cool.
Get paid to do that.
Like, like obviously we built this thing, so it's like, we have our members and our community and ourselves to thank for building this thing, but it's pretty cool to be able to, I mean, you don't want to use someone else's lack of joy or enjoyment about what they do to kind of like to pump up your own. But it does create some like perspective when you chat to people that don't love what they do or don't love their job, or they go, oh, fuck, I gotta go to work today. And like we have those moments where like, I can't bother going to work. Yeah. But very rarely do I ever think of a time where work hasn't just flown by and I haven't gone like, I love this. Like
the other night I was a bit flat and I was about to run a session with 25 under 17 boys and I wasn't quite ready for it. But as soon as it started, it was just high energy and it was awesome. And by the end of it, I was stoked.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
So that's 20 to 25 hours of my week. The other 10 or so, I'm doing some business-to-business outreach stuff, so sort of liaising with local clubs in the area, trying to get some corporate programs up and running and sort of facilitating our relationship with schools, which at the moment looks like our scholarship program. So we have 2 different schools per semester that they provide year 9 and 10 students that want to pretty much upskill their physical and mental development.
Yeah.
They apply and they essentially get to hang out at Vertus for 12 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. So we wanted to take the barriers away that, around a year 9 or 10 who maybe doesn't have the financial capacities from their parents and maybe aren't working yet. We wanted to make sure that we still got some athletic development and some teaching and education into those young kids. So like that's been brilliant to see you oversee that program.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. They're all ripping kids too. And it's probably another 5 or so hours of just my own personal development too. So upskilling, mentorship, about to start Jamie Smith.
Yes,
business mentorship. Doing some sales training with Alex Bose and with Sayre Consultancy.
Yes.
Because as much as I sort of despised salesmen and anything to do with sales growing up and throughout my role with Ballarat Genesis Health and Fitness, like everyone
that'll do it for you.
Every single person is a salesman.
Yep.
Like, you got to learn how to sell.
Yeah.
So,
and I think Sayers and Shane and those guys that teach us Sayre, I always say it wrong, is like their whole thing is selling fitness for good. And I think that, at the end of the day, we exist to help people improve their lives, improve their capacity, improve their ability to learn and move and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like, we want to add value. Like, in a nutshell, good salesmen are the salesmen that add value, that under promise and over deliver. And I guess that's what we want to be known for.
A conversation I had with Shane was like, one thing I just hate about sales is when we're just manipulating people. And he's like, yeah, you're right, we are. But if you're manipulating people to do good things for themselves, then what's the problem with that? I said, touche.
Yeah, it's like, because like at the end of the day, we've seen the light. Like, we love health and fitness. So like, I know, you probably love health and fitness more than I do these days, but like, I love that growth element of it, and that, like, hunting progression side of life. And we've seen the light in a lot of different ways. Like, we get to see it with individual members that, go from where they are to where they want to be. And we get to see that progress, and we see what improvements it has to their quality of life and their capacity to do things. And we kind of want that for everyone. It's like when you read a really good book or watch a really good movie, you're like, oh, everyone in the world needs to see this movie. And I feel like this around kids, right? I'm like, now that not sleeping all that well, but just experiencing the unconditional love and the beautiful things it does to your life. Like, I think I said to Mum one day, I was like, do you love me as much as I love these guys? And you kind of like understand why your parents have done so much for you. And it's brilliant, because it's like, and now I want all my friends to experience that. And I know they will in their own time, but it's like, you kind of want to force feed people, but people will do it in their own time. But I think as a coach and as a salesman, in a nutshell, like, your job is just to facilitate greatness, facilitate good things.
And, in the last few months, I've been heavily sort of working on myself too, and seeing some really good gains in strength, physique, just general health.
Not running.
And not running.
We'll get there.
That's deteriorating.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. But not realizing how easy it is, because it is a slog and it's a daily battle, but realizing how simple it is.
Yep.
It's like, shit, I've got to pass this on to other people.
Yeah, and I think you said it before, but like, it's a simple thing. Like, everything you do is taking you one step closer, one step further away from the person you want to be. And like, that's the person, the athlete, the father, the partner, the friend, the son, like, or daughter, everything you do takes you a step further and a step closer away. And like I said to the kids today, is like, you're not gonna hit that target 100% of the time, right? It's probably going to be more like 80-20 or 70-30, but the closer we get to that, hitting it as often as we can, the better your life gets. The bigger, I've said this word 1,000 times this podcast, but the bigger your capacity grows, and the more you're actually capable of, and the more you can be. Like, one of my goals for the next 12, 18 months is just to like empty my calendar effectively. Is like similar to what you want to achieve. You can't do it because I need you doing things so that I can empty my calendar. But we'll build that into.
I'll find someone else to replace me.
But that's it. We'll
eventually.
keep leveling it up and kind of cultivate that environment here where we can do that. And that comes from doing the work first. I think a lot of people want to skip that step or almost like go.
Yeah. Everyone's looking for a shortcut.
Yeah, and they don't exist.
Nah.
They don't exist. Like, what's the Naval Ravikant quote? It's like, love, wealth, and
house full of love.
House full of love can't be earned. They can't be bought. They must be earned. I've just butchered it completely, but
that's all right. You get the idea.
Get the idea. So you need to earn this stuff.
That's
you need
right.
to earn good things.
On the pursuit of growth and financial freedom and freedom of time to do what I want, I've sort of, in a way, got to sacrifice those things and really dig down and hustle for a little bit. But I know it's only short term.
Yeah, I mean, I look at like our life have a lot of parallels and a lot of similarities. And like, I look at now, I can kind of, I'm obviously at footy a couple of nights a week and and I work Monday nights at the moment, and I spend the rest of my nights like putting the girls to bed and doing dinners and helping KP with that stuff when I have the capacity to. And like I've kind of built that in by, there were countless nights where early on Virtus, I slept at the gym and was, we used to be here till 10 o'clock most nights. And before we built a coaching structure that actually allowed us to refuel our minds and our bodies as coaches, because we were just like, it was Wild West back in the day. But we kind of, in a way, you've kind of like paid your dues. And I don't think people going through that now have to suffer because you suffered. I definitely think like my job in a nutshell is to make sure you guys don't have to go through those things and that you can experience the good things that we get to experience now because of, not in spite of, the difficulties that we had to go through to build this thing. And now you guys get to, you and Mitch and Jazz get to experience it in a different way, but then you get to make it better for, whoever comes after you. Like, one of my big hairy goals is for Virtus to exist without me, but not only exist, is to continually level up and grow and evolve without the need for my input, which it's already doing in a bunch of different ways. You definitely don't. But that's the best part about it, right? Like the ego that drove a lot of the things I did 5 or 6 years ago doesn't really exist anymore. And it exists in different ways. Like I was talking to a couple of the older boys at footy the other day, and my enjoyment out of football comes from seeing the younger boys do the stuff that I used to do. And like, it's a hard transition to go from like, being the guy that everyone needs for different things to then being like a part player or on the side. But it's like, it's so much more rewarding seeing other people succeed because you were able to like lay down the path in front of them. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Great. Nothing from me on that.
Nothing from you? No. All right, good. I'm going to have some more water. I'm not going to press the button again, though. So I guess let's 51 minutes. That went quick. The last like kind of 7 or 8 minutes, I'm just going to like throw a bunch of questions at you. We've obviously done the Quickfire 30, already done with Mitch. So that'll be out in a couple of days time. Wednesday night. So hopefully this goes out Sunday night and that goes out Wednesday night. But what are you most excited for?
Just to see how much better I can become. Like, just the limit does not exist, so I just want to see how far we can push it. Like,
love that.
Like, I look back at 2 years ago and then look at myself now compared to 2 years ago and look at how much better I am. It's like, shit, I wonder where I'll be this time next year, and then the year after that, and then the year after that. It's exciting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What are you most proud of?
This is probably a bit cliche, just myself, my own development.
That's good.
Yeah.
Sounds like potential.
Ted Lasso.
Yep.
Good. Who are you most proud of outside of you? Like, who are the people, and a secondary part of that, and you can answer both at the same time. They're probably maybe the same people. Like, who are you most appreciative for?
Most proud of my parents for putting up with me and still continuing to put up with me.
Yeah.
And now probably only just now finding the time and money to do the things they want to do and live the life that they want to.
Yeah, I've
probably delayed a good decade because of me.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Mum and Dad. I think you become an adult. You were talking about this this morning with the kids, right? There's 16, 17-year-olds. There's like 60, 70 of them in a room, and we're kind of, I'm talking about the things I've learned over the last decade, and you're talking about just becoming an adult and things like that.
Yep.
I think the moment you become an adult is the moment you realise your parents were right about most things, and you're like, I was a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I've been legally an adult for 6 years now, but only this year, the past few months, have I really started to feel like one. And a big catalyst for that has been, yes, that one, but also, two, not spending any time at all, really, with the people you love most. So that's, your family, then friends that I'd never really see anymore at all.
Yeah,
ever.
Just takes time. What was that?
That was Gregory.
Oh, what a great man. Perfect. What's the best piece of advice you've been given that you've received that has shaped who you've either become or an action you've done or what you've done?
Hello, Greg.
Sauna jocks.
Oh.
Are they yours?
No, not mine. I don't know if this is the best one, but this was a bit of a funny one that I got when I was on placement at Exalto Performance on the Sunshine Coast with Jordan Potts. this was just as I'd finished up the placement and I was just about to leave. And one of the last things he said to me was like, fucking look me in the eye when you're talking to me. It's like when you get really, really nervous, you don't look me in the eye.
Yeah.
So now...
Well, I haven't noticed that, so...
Yeah, no. I've been thinking about it hard for 3 years.
Every single moment.
Yeah. So if you want to get trust from someone or really build a relationship, like look them in the eyes.
Yeah. Now I'm just going to fucking eyeball you for the rest of the podcast.
And you can't do it too much because it gets weird.
But, it does get weird. But that connection and that ability, like...
It's just basic relationship building.
Yeah. What's a book, and obviously we ask all these questions, favourite books and stuff, but what's a book that shaped your current, like who you are? Is there one?
Not so much. I really, really like, I can't say it shapes me too much, but it's one that I think everyone should read. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's another just really basic relationship building, just being a good person, basic life skills sort of thing. I can't say it shaped me too much, but I think everyone should read it.
Yeah, I think it just gives you a kick up the bum for the stuff that you already know.
Yeah,
it's like it's a reminder of the stuff that you know is important.
And that's like the look people in the eyes, address people by their first name. Yeah,
all of that kind of stuff. What's the... Oh, we asked the advice one already. We didn't talk about football, Red Hill. So how did you find yourself down up to the hill rather than to the Stone Cats?
To the Stone Cats.
Which is heartbreaking.
Better blokes.
Yeah, I'm not...
I deal with Stone Cats every single day at work.
Emotional, Dan!
They essentially did a 12 or an 8 week block of pre-season at our gym.
Yeah.
Their S&C was leaving to go and join the army.
Yeah.
And was wondering who's going to fill his gap. He asked Mitch. Don't know why he didn't ask me straight away. He asked Mitch, and Mitch said, why don't you just ask Tyler?
Yeah.
And so that's been an awesome stepping stone for me to, one, meet new people.
Yeah.
And to, again, develop that coaching skill set and get out of my comfort zone, because being in a team sport environment is not really something I've ever been interested in.
It's just different.
It's very different to the private system. Yeah. And I've never been an incredible footballer, so to now be in that environment, be a leader at a football club and have to tell these blokes that are better at footy than me, stronger than me.
Here's what you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's been really daunting, but also a great challenge.
That's awesome. It's been brilliant to see, because I remember when you first said I'm moving to Mornington, I was like, I got to help you find a job. I tried to get you a job somewhere else. You're like, I can't work there.
Yeah, fuck that.
And then you eventually obviously started working here and stuff. And then so a lot of your life has been wrapped up in Virtus, which has been brilliant for all of the growth and connection that you get from that.
Yeah,
but it was almost
and it's also that same thing of growing up in Hamilton and then moving to Ballarat with half the people I knew.
It's just, if you came to the Stone Cats,
the same people. Yeah.
If you came to the Stone Cats, it'd be same circles.
It'd be an echo chamber. I had to go and
which I think,
and
people. I remember being super stoked for you that you did that, because it's personal growth, meet new people. Yeah, plus you get to run your own show there,
and that's been really hard too, because they're all blokes that have grown up, played junior footy together. They've all got their really strong relationships in the club. And I'm the new guy that's still struggling to try and fit in, but that's just the challenge wherever you go.
What advice would you have for someone that either wants to change career or wants to change clubs or wants to move somewhere different? What advice would you have for them if they're kind of on the edge going, I don't know if I should?
Does it align with your values? Does it take you closer to who you want to be? If it does, do it. You'll make it work.
Oh, and on that note, any more?
Give me a prompt. One more prompt.
What's your perfect Sunday afternoon look like?
Perfect Sunday afternoon. Wake up, catch a sunrise, have a coffee. It'd be summer.
Yeah, good.
Grab a coffee.
I mean, I love this part of the world, but this 2-month period sucks. And it's good for us because we need it. We need the cold to appreciate the warm. But I tell you what, I could deal with some sunshine at the moment.
I'd catch some sunshine. Yeah,
good. Love that. Get your sunshine. Any more? Get
your vitamin D. Drink 3 litres of water, please. Eat nutrient-dense food. Get 8 hours sleep. Goodbye.
Have a good day.